Well, hello everybody and welcome back. Sunday, and man, did we have a storm come through here by 4 o'clock, started about 3:30 and lasted till about 5:30 and 6. I understand there was a tornado down south of me, but we had some wind blowing last night, probably around 70 miles an hour. We had some yard chairs out there. They blowed way over yonder, so I had to go pick them up. The yard's got about a foot of water in it everywhere I have. I mean, it rained hard, lightning popped and flashed, and I didn't sleep none. As a matter of fact, I didn't even stay home. My mother was scared because they'd been announcing tornadoes all day, so I ended up sleeping on her couch last night, and that was a rough sleep, so I'm wore out this morning. But you know what? Y'all don't know how lucky y'all are to be growing up in this new age. I call this the age of easy, but now I don't know that it's any more fun, because I growed up in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and I growed up before we had, whenever I remember first got my later guitar, I bought a brand new back in about 1970. I bought it, and I still got it, a Fender Telecaster, a Marco Brown, and I bought a brand new one. I had to drive 45 miles. They didn't sell them here in Cordele, but I drove down to Albany to Ken Staton Music Company, I believe was what it was called back then, and bought it. I also bought a brand new amplifier with it, and it was a Peavey Classic Course with two 12-inch speakers in it, weighed a ton, man. But because I had that equipment and come home and practice, and I didn't have no way of recording nothing or practicing, I remember that we had a male bay bunk, and I would just sit there and learn chords and then I'd learn how to play little embellishments and do that for hours on end. But then there was a local band, and they was not as lucky as I was to have a new amp, a new guitar. They had a old custom padded PA set, which was big old heavy thing. It wasn't real good sounding. It didn't have no effects built in it that I remember. It was just loud. And they had a guitar player that was playing a old Fender Telecaster that he had picked up that was damaged or something, and he repaired it. I remember it looked like it was haywire together, but they had a couple of little custom amps, and then they found out about me with my new guitar and amp. So one day they approached me. They didn't live about 10 miles down the road, and wanted to know if I wanted to join their band. And they found out my amp was a 2-channel amp. You could actually plug 2 guitars in it. It had a split side, 2 volumes on it, and 2 different reverb adjustments. I remember that was, at the time, was one of the fanciest amps I ever saw. But anyway, so I joined their band, and the only reason I got to join their band was because of my new amp and guitar. If it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have never got in it, because they was way better players than I was. But we'd go to one of the boys' house that wasn't but probably 2 or 3 miles from me, and we'd practice on Saturday evening and sometimes go into Saturday night, and there'd be a crowd gather around, and we'd sit out there. They had a big back porch, and we used that for our stage and played. But what I was telling you about Lucky, today you got the YouTube on the internet and all kind of guitar lessons, and I mean tons of free ones. We didn't have that. Matter of fact, I like the Fender strings, so I had to drive all the way 40 miles to Albany to buy my strings, because the only strings they sold here in Cordele at that time was a brand called Black Diamond, and they was acoustic guitar strings. And I used the Fender Lights, and I think I still got a couple of pair of the old Bullets that got the bullet on the end. pretty cool. I'm not sure if they made them, but anyway, today, practicing. Man, I tell you, if you got your lap steel guitar and you live by yourself, and you ain't got nobody to play with, and that happens a lot. In fact, I'm in that situation right now because Harold is in the nursing home, and he used to come out here twice a week and we'd play and sing. And then I got some friends that live in Miami, Florida that come up this day of the week, and they done got all too old to do all that, so I'm back here by myself. Luckily, I've got some nice recording gear. I've got the Tascam. But let me tell you something. And I watched a video on it this morning to make sure I wasn't telling you wrong. Did you know you can take your cell phone and you can plug into the little bitty tiny round hole in there and hook that to a recorder, or you can hook that to a PA system, or you can just play it through a headphone and practice, but you can record on that cell phone like recording. And while you playing that, you can go over with some leads. So, anyway, you can do that. Now, I have bought, years ago, when they first come out, I thought it was the coolest invention I'd ever seen, something called a Ditto looping pedal, and I believe that thing will loop up to about 10 minutes. I've never went that far, about 7 minutes maybe the longest I've actually looped, because I did write a whole song on it, played it through the amp, and then took it out of the amp and plugged it into the recorder and recorded my backing track that I played on the Ditto looper, and it sounded really great. It really did. But I'm going to demonstrate now the values of looping, because you live in a generation today. When I growed up, we had a guitar and an amp and a pick. And that was it. Didn't know what a capo was, and I probably say that might have been a good thing on my learning skills, because when I started playing in the gospel band, I've told y'all we had to play in E flat, A flat, and F a lot. And boy, I tell you, it took me a long time to figure out them chords. And but I watched my wife, and I told her to give me 3 chords of a E flat, and she would, and I would write down what 3 notes she was playing and found them on the guitar. Found out if I played in the F position and moved it up and down the neck, I could play all the way through with major chords by starting here and going down and doing the old trick by counting to 6 and 8 and know where the 1, 4, 5 chord like. So I'm just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8. So I know that's a 1, 4, 5 chord, so that'd be a G, a C, a D, and back to the G. Okay, so then practicing. All right, now if you writing your little song or something to play along with, that's the best way to learn, I promise you, and I'm gonna demonstrate that in a minute. But if you're not good at remembering things, get you a notebook pad, and I do this a lot so I can go from the guitar to the piano, or from the piano to the synth, or the banjo, or the bass guitar. I write it down where I know I won't forget what my progression was, because sometimes I have more than 3 chords in a song. In fact, that, and we're going to play today's got 4 in it. We're going to start off in a D, and I'm tuning in an open E, but a D, A, then we're going to go to a C, then a G, so that's D, A, C, G, back to A, and back to the D. Okay, I'm going to start the loop, but I'm going to make a bass track out of it. So I'm just going to be hitting them top 3 strings like this. I get the loop too, I'm gonna go around 2 times with it. I'm gonna put some lead over it, and that's where you really can have a light bulb moment, or that's really where you can shine through, is practicing. And I'm pulling back on them strings. Or I'm banjo rolling. Alright, something in that neighborhood, or you can just play one string. Or play 2 and skip, or go. I'm just pulling up on strings 2 and 3. Alright, so let's go ahead and start our backing track with the looper, see what we got, and I'm going to have to come over here on the other side of the camera stand. There we go. Bass line. gonna cut it off and it's gone forever. But that's what I'm talking about. Lucky people out there to get to do things like that and practice, I mean. And you notice I switched up my styles, finding some notes. So, that right there can learn you a lot if you sit down and play it smooth and practice. And just remember how lucky you are to have all these gadgets. I've got on my board right now, of course, an EQ pedal. It's turned on. And also I've got a canyon pedal that gives you a sparkle or a delay. I've got a Boss Super Overdrive, and that's another thing. You might want to turn the overdrive on when you're practicing. Didn't, but you could. Then I've got a phaser, and then I've got a synthesizer, SY1, and of course I got a volume pedal, and I got reverb, compression, and a little bit of delay in my amp. Hear it? Remember when I was playing, sometime I would just go. All I'm doing there is skipping. Or you can do it. But that's the way you get better, is play and practice and play and practice. So I hope somebody out there in the wonderful land of lap steel's getting something out of this lesson. And remember, nowadays you got more, and by golly, this stuff is now, it's not out of reach. You can, matter of fact, that little old graphic equalizer by Behringer ain't but like $20 or $25 brand new. You can look around on Reverb sometime and find them for $10 to $15. I bought a super nice rack mounted EQ one time for $10 on there. It was I think a Tascam, but it had like 24 sliders in it, equalizer, and I got my new recorder. When I got it, I didn't need it because it's got a built-in equalizer. I can EQ things on the fly with it. But that was a rack mount. I still got my rack box out in the shop stored. But anyway, like I said, back in them days, the guitar and the amp, I had to work at my daddy's garage doing odd and ends. Of course, I was a great carburetor rebuilder, but rebuilt thousands and thousands of them old Quadrajets. I rebuilt so many that a man and me had a bet that I couldn't put one together blindfolded. $100 I walked out of the building with because I was completely blindfolded. He did let me lay it out on a rag and put everything in an order that I usually went by. But I did it completely blindfolded, put the new gaskets in it, put the little ball that goes up and down in it, put it in the right hole and all that, completely blindfolded. I think the hardest part was putting the throttle rods that you had to curl around and hook to the throttle body from the top up there. And then you got them two jets that you put in there. That block off the air, and then when you stomp it to the floor, it raises them up and gives it more air. But now I couldn't have done that probably with a Holley. They was a little more complicated, especially setting the float. I could set the float on the Quadrajet blindfolded, and they. Oh, but anyway, back to the story. It took me a year to save up enough money to buy that guitar and amp. I remember new. I think the guitar was about $375. And I'm pretty sure the amp was $200 or something like that. But it was around $500 or $600 for that and some picks and guitar cables. I bought a couple of them. In fact, I still got them. And I've lost my strap. I wish I had. I never lost it, but I don't know where the strap went. I left it somewhere. Something happened to it, just like I lose a lot of picks when I go out and play. Don't know how I lost, but I had a beautiful gold Fender strap with the little Fender headstock on it. It said Fender in it with the buckles on it. Bought it brand new with my guitar, and I still got the hang tag in the case that my guitar come with, and I still got the paperwork in the house in a file where I bought it new. So, y'all are lucky today to live in an age where you can buy, and back then you couldn't hardly find a used guitar. If you did, it was a piece of junk done tore up and wore out and all. But nowadays you can buy some used guitars that look like brand new and play like brand new, and I like a new guitar. I got some old ones, but there's nothing wrong with a new one, and there's nothing wrong with an old one. Main thing is get one that you enjoy playing and it's playable. And that's a good thing about lap steel. You ain't got to worry about adjusting the neck or hardly setting no intonation and all that. All you got to learn is how to lay that bar down over the top of a fret. 3 little chords. Sounds pretty, eh? Slide him back. There you go. But sit around and make up something and write it down and practice. If you're a piano player, you're lucky there. Record your bass line on your piano or record a melody. Get your lap steel out. Practice makes perfect. Alright, so stay in pitch, keep your dragging fingers down, use your muting, or there you go. Anyway, hope y'all have a wonderful week. I hope we don't have no more of that bad weather. They had some terrible tornadoes over in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, I understand. I've seen a lot of places just blew out, a bomb exploded. So, y'all stay safe out there, and thanks for stopping by, and y'all have a great week.